so last year. And the new aged architects are healthier. They have balance. They know their value and they communicate their value and they charge their value. They also sleep and move their body a lot more. Taking action. It's as simple as that. I suppose that was the line in the sand where there was no other way forward other than me being a powerful mom and a powerhouse in the architecture industry. I believe that we are, from the age of 18, kind of groomed to have these characteristics, to think, to believe from the age of 18 that architects don't make a lot of money and architects work 24/7. But that's old school.
What was that turning point for you? And how can others begin to reject that overwork culture?
Taking action. It's as simple as that.
But then, why do you think stress and underpayment have become the industry's default setting? Why is it something that almost every part of the globe, every architect is talking about stress and underpayment? Why do you think so?
Most architects are sitting behind their desk in Revit, syncing Revit, doing charrettes, but they lack the marketing skills to actually go out and grab their ideal client.
Hi, Morgan. Welcome to Architects Corner. It's great to have you.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me here. It is a pleasure to be here.
So today we are going to be talking about how architects can stress less and make more money. So, Morgan, for any architect turning in right now who is exhausted, underpaid, and wondering if they are to remain in the profession or if there's any way in this profession without breaking down. In your own words, what is it that you do for people and why should they stay listening to you today?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big, big question. So my name is founder of The Healthy Architect, and I'm a career coach for architects and design professionals. And what I do is I help architects create bigger income and bigger impact as well. So you asked about architects and is there a way for architects to stay in their profession without burning out and increasing their income? And yes, my simple answer is yes, absolutely. My clients are doing just that. They are staying in the architecture profession. They're finding happiness. They're avoiding burnout. And the biggest thing, they're creating more income for themselves. So yes, it is possible, and I have evidence through my clients.
I like the part that there are results to show for it. So, but then, why do you think stress and underpayment have become the industry's default setting? Why is it something that almost every part of the globe, every architect is talking about stress and underpayment? Why do you think so?
Well, that's a loaded question, but I believe that it starts in our education, right? And it starts in our mindset, architects' mindset. I believe that we are, from the age of 18, kind of groomed to have these characteristics, to think, to believe from the age of 18 that architects don't make a lot of money and architects work 24/7. But that's old school. That is like so undergraduate. That's so unhealthy architect. That's so 1997 or so 2020, right? That's so last year. And the new aged architects are healthier. They have balance. They know their value and they communicate their value and they charge their value. They also sleep and move their body a lot more. So if we are going to spearhead architects of the future, we have to be healthy, and my clients are.
That's interesting. You said they know their value, they communicate that value. I think that's one of the things I would keep to mind while I go on with this conversation with you. But then on LinkedIn, you said something. You said you believe that architects must work 25/8. Most is it's author BS, and you've built a different model. What was that turning point for you, and how can others begin to reject that overwork culture?
I'm not sure I had a blunt turning point. I mean, if you're forcing me to say one, it was motherhood. Motherhood, I had no other option, right? I had to raise a family, and I had to create income for my babies, and I had to be a powerful powerhouse woman in architecture. So I didn't have a choice. I suppose that was the line in the sand where there was no other way forward other than me being a powerful mom and a powerhouse in the architecture industry. So that's, I think, is my line in the sand. Yeah. By taking action, simply taking action. That is how architects in general in the industry are going to reject this 25/8 working, are going to reject being underpaid and undervalued. So just simply taking action, right? Stepping into your present, stepping into your value, the value that you know you own, right? Not working past your contracted hours unless you want to, that fulfills you. Actually negotiating your salary and saying, this is why I deserve a higher salary, right? Planning out your career path in the future. If you want to be a project manager or if you want to be a senior associate, working with your principal architect to figure out the path to get there, right? So not taking the easy path, or it's not even really the easy path, it's the normalized path of architects working 24/7, not getting paid, but actually taking action and stepping out of this box that architects have created for themselves and providing evidence on why they should be paid more. Why the value they bring to the table not only helps the architecture firm, but architects in the industry and architects in the firm as well. So just to simplify that answer, it would be taking action. It's as simple as that.
Thank you for that response. We often think that the problem is not enough clients, but maybe the leaks are inside our own businesses. Where do you see architects losing the most money without even realizing it?
Yeah. And it all goes back to our value, right? You said something interesting where you just said, we don't have enough clients.
Yeah.
And I preach about aligned clients. So clients that we don't want a plethora of clients. We can survive off of just a few heavy hitter clients. And those are the clients that are aligned to our morals and our values. Where I think architects really have the biggest leak in their firms is their lack of marketing, right? Their lack of getting in front of their aligned clients. I truly believe that if you're an architecture firm, you have a certain mission, a certain vision, certain values, certain things that you bring to the table. The only thing between you and your aligned client is you going and finding them. Most architects are sitting behind their desk in Revit, syncing Revit, doing charrettes, but they lack the marketing skills to actually go out and grab their ideal client. And I promise you that your ideal client is out there waiting on you. They don't even know you exist. And as soon as you find them, they will pay you what you need to be paid if you communicate that value.
Thank you for that feedback, boy. I was just thinking that when you mentioned marketing, I don't know if it's something you do, or how can architects better market themselves?
Yeah, well, I'm getting out. I'm doing actually a challenge starting on Monday. It's called a 5-day visibility challenge for architects. So I do challenges every once in a while. So feel free to join those challenges. Absolutely. But again, it's being creative and getting out in front of your ideal client. So for example, if you're an employee architect, going to architecture firms, giving them your resume, networking, introducing yourself to appropriate individuals, emailing people, emailing heavy hitters, taking developers out to coffee, networking, creating that social circle, right? And many architects don't do that. I have picked up jobs literally when I was in the traditional architectural role. I was at the gym and somebody asked me what I did, and I said I'm an architect. I design architecture. And they're like, "Oh, really? We could use an architect." And that's how I landed a job, just from a workout, just by telling somebody, "Hey, I'm an architect, and this is the type of architecture I do." So being proud of what we do and actually communicating our value.
Quite interesting. For the last week, we've been having this series on Architects Corner about exploring different career options. And so when you mentioned this, that you said to someone that you're an architect. So what came to mind was, since you're also a coach, as a finance coach, how did you make that shift? Or is it basically for architects, or you also do it for non-architects?
Well, I no longer practice architecture, so I'll make that clear. I left the architecture industry, the traditional architectural industry, a little over a year ago. So the story about the gym was a past. Now I'm a career coach for architects and design professionals. How did I make that shift? I knew that I was put on this earth for a bigger mission in life. I knew that sitting behind a computer drawing in Revit wasn't using my superpowers that I had. And I had actually a random individual come to me and say, "Hey, Morgan, do you think you could help me negotiate my salary?" She was an architect. And I said, "Well, I've done that multiple times in my career. So I don't know, let's give it a try." And we did. And it was successful. And it changed her life. It changed not only her salary, but what her and her husband could afford to live in, and her car, and the trajectory of her life. That was probably the beginning of me saying, "Oh, wow, there's something here that I can help architects negotiate their salary, and I can help architects gain more clients from my marketing background."
You already have a marketing background.
I was before I went on my own for the Healthy Architect, I was director of marketing at an architecture firm.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow. I'm grateful for that explanation, because many architects shift careers after discovering no financial upside, even with licensure. What mindsets or pricing model shifts would you give them enough confidence to stay and thrive in the profession?
I would first ask yourself, do you love architecture? Is it something that you are passionate about and that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life, or a large chunk of your life? And if the answer to that is yes, then I would say that the world is your oyster. You can literally do anything you want to do. So just breaking the norm, breaking the mindset of what undergrad and what the traditional architectural path has taught you. So we are ingrained in believing that architects don't make money, but let's flip that on our head, because I know lots of architects that make really good money, like more money than I make. And they are the ones that are quiet, sitting in the corner, problem solving for that money. It's the architects that don't make money that are raising their hand saying, "Architects don't make money. Their profession doesn't make money. Don't get into architecture." Those are the ones that we hear quite often, right? We don't hear the successful ones, but they are there, and I'm a witness to that.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Now let's go into the practical steps. What are the simplest systems or habits you've seen that dramatically reduce stress for architects?
Yeah. Well, increasing your income. That's a dramatic stress decrease, right? Just right there, increasing your income alone decreases stress. So that's one. Two is maintenance. right? So when I have architects come to me that are stressed, I say, okay, I mean, income is big picture, right? But day to day, what are you doing? Are you running from meeting to meeting? Are you waking up in the morning, checking your phone on your emails to see if the general contractor emailed you the RFI? Are you sitting at your computer all day long and not going on a lunch break, right? So maintenance strategies, my architects, if they're my clients, they are moving every single day, right? They're creating boundaries, boundaries, work-life boundaries, right? They're not waking up in the morning checking their email. They're not working till 8 or 9 p.m. at night. They are getting away from their desk and actually moving their body during their lunch break. So movement is a huge stress reduction strategy that my architects use on a daily basis. And that actually impacts how they show up in their drawings, how they show up to OAC meetings, how they show up to their design and their architecture. And it actually makes them better, not only better architects, but better husbands, better wives, better parents, better designers all around.
So on your podcast, you shared how Brittany negotiated a 30% salary bump and a 32-hour work week. Can you walk us through that step-by-step process, through that negotiation process, and how can every architect replicate that success?
Yeah. Well, number one, coach with me,
Okay.
right? Like I can't explain the process in a 10-minute podcast, but I can give you the dumbed down version. And the dumbed down version, or the simplistic version, is to believe in yourself. Believe that you actually can have. And so Rose was talking about one of my clients. She had a 38% salary increase. And on top of that, not only a 38% salary increase, we also reduced her hours to a 32-hour work week, which was like a huge accomplishment, right? And most architects would say it's not possible, right? Like it's not possible to increase your salary and decrease your hours. But right there is an example that it is possible to increase your salary and reduce your hours. And that should be the goal, right? So evidence, number one, it is possible. Number two, believing that it's possible, right? You cannot increase your salary and decrease your hours if you're still in this mindset that it's not possible. Architects can't do that, right? So you have to be coachable and actually believe deep down inside you that you can negotiate a higher salary and you can reduce your hours. It's all about your approach, 100%. So when you coach with me, I have a 5-step approach that gets you from point A to point A, B, C, D, E, which is step E is your salary increase.
Appreciate that clarity. Thank you. Then the last question I would ask you is, your programs center on systems and business innovation. What's one radical way architects can rethink their own business model to reduce stress and increase profit?
Yeah, that's a great question. Realizing that, well, here's an abstract idea, looking at other businesses other than architecture, looking how businesses outside of architecture actually do things, how they market themselves, how they increase their rates, why they increase their rates, when they increase their rates, right? I have several architecture firms that I work with that have increased 3 times their revenue since working with me. They have literally increased their revenue 3 times since working with me. And it's because we implement other strategies that are outside, that are not traditionally practiced in architecture. So really, we have to retrain our brains on how to think outside of the industry.
Thank you for that response. But then I was thinking, when you mentioned increase our rate, does it have any relationship with the skills of the architect or even the firm in general? What can the firm do differently to increase their rate and also to increase their payments to architects that are working for them?
Yeah, market Market, 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 visibility, market, visibility, change their brand image, right? It's all about how many individuals know who you are as an architecture firm, and then what is your brand? What's the first thing? That's the second time that's happened today. What's the first thing that people think when they see your brand, when they see your image, right? It's all about marketing, 100%.
Sure
And
those
most architecture firms, a couple things, especially the smaller and the medium-sized ones, they, one, don't invest in marketing. And two, if they do invest in marketing, they don't prioritize it because they don't understand the value in it.
value that perspective. Thank you. I think I believe those balloons were to show you that. Yeah, you say it right. So now let's talk about the business and the mindset shift. Do you think architecture education sets up graduates to suffer financially? What should schools do differently?
Yeah, that's a good question. Schools should teach different principles in architecture school, right? So deadlines shouldn't be given the day before they're due. They should be planned out. They should teach students how to plan out a project. They should teach students how to maximize their time and efficiency, right? They should teach students how the mindset of not working, pulling all-nighters and smoking cigarettes and taking Adderall, right? They should teach students that their hour is worth something and that they shouldn't work 24/7 to achieve something. They should also, I think, they should be better at teaching the overall picture of architecture and not just the design of architecture, right? Like profits of a firm, how to market, right? Some of those tangential subjects should be brought into the architecture community and the architecture industry in undergrad and graduate school. So like when I took my master's degree, when I got my master's degree, I made sure that I took urban redevelopment, that I took city planning, that I took regional studies, that I took law. I was horrible at law, that I took finance. I took all of those because I wasn't very good at them and I needed to get better at those things, right? And so historic preservation was another course that I took. I wasn't good at those things. I was great at architecture. So why did I take them? Because I needed to learn, right? So we really need to expand our horizon of what architecture is and the subjects that are taught in university.
Right. You're right. I like that feedback. You mentioned how motherhood was a driving factor for you. So right now I'm going to ask you, your Instagram post says motherhood brings architects skills into empathy and management. Can you unpack that? How do life roles outside the studio enhance leadership inside it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So mothers, for one, don't have a choice anymore, right? So whereas for example, many of my clients are project managers and leaders in their firms. And motherhood has only kind of forced them to lean into that role. So for example, most mothers can't stay at the office until 10 p.m. to get something done. So they're forced to manage not only their time, but their team's time as well, right? Because mothers, just for an example, have to leave at 5 p.m. to go pick up their kids from school and then take them to soccer practice and then make sure they're fed and then get them to bed and then get themselves to bed and then make sure everybody's hair's washed and has lunch the next day, right? So mothers have so many other things on their plate that everything has to be managed, period. There is no other choice, right? Mothers also are on a timeline. We're on a time crunch. We have to get so much done in every single minute of the day, right? So there is no fluff. There is no moving the door right to left to right to left and Revit anymore, right? There's not time for that fluff. So we have to be out because we have other things to do and other places to be. In addition to that, mothers I'm trying to figure out how to say this, practice patience daily with their children, with the contractors, with consultants, with their bosses, with their employees, right? So we are taxed on how much patience we have, and we have to practice that with every single person around us. And so that's why I believe mothers make amazing architects and amazing project managers and amazing leaders in the architecture industry.
Thank you for that response, even though I don't know if the men will disagree. So now let's talk about global issues. In your view, what lessons can architects in the global south, I don't know if you've had to practice in different worlds, what lessons do you think architects in the global south can teach those in the West, especially about running a less stressful career practice and vice versa?
Yeah, I don't know that answer, I think, because I don't know. I don't know. Most of my clients are in the United States. I think if I had to answer that, I would say that I think there's global issues, right? Like architects here are experiencing similar, if not the same, issues as architects in other countries. And whether the pay is the same or not, I'm not sure. But I think overall,
It's
it's
usually low.
it's realizing that architecture is not life.
Realizing that architecture is not life. You
Yeah.
just brought me into the next question. When you said in your podcast, we are not just our job. You set architects up for it to design their own lives.
Yeah,
How does
absolutely.
adopting this mantra reshape our career trajectories, especially as
Yeah. Well,
architects? Also,
I
even
think
the
it's,
profits.
yeah, I think it's the confidence, right? The confidence to step out of the traditional box of architecture and the confidence to say, I actually have other hobbies outside of architecture. I have other things that are important to me outside of architecture. Architecture is bomb. I love architecture. Architecture is amazing. It's very important and it's a top priority to me. But so is my family. But so is pickleball. But so is me being a soccer coach, right? Whatever your thing is outside of architecture, so is CrossFit for me, right? That's a top priority for me. It's okay, and it's actually not even okay. We all should have things outside of architecture that we're good at or we're trying to be better at. Those things are not only going to make us better architects, but they're going to raise our profitability in architecture, right? The lessons that I've learned in CrossFit, how to compete, how to be mentally strong, how to work on a team, how to communicate as a team. I learned those in CrossFit, how to be a leader, how to, when things get hard, to push through, how to figure out where I should put my energy and where I shouldn't put my energy. All of those things I've learned outside of the architecture industry, but can be applied to the architecture industry. And my clients do apply that to the architecture industry. So when they come back to work, let's say from 9 to 5, they are excited to be at work. They are excited to be there. They're not burning out. They love their job. They love their career. They love what they're doing. When they're there, they are focused, they are efficient, and they are productive. And that is when your income increases. When you come to work excited, when you are efficient, productive member of the team, right? Not when you're spinning your wheels working 25/8 and not sleeping.
But then it's almost a culture. Everybody thinks you can't sleep when you're an architect. So
Yeah, and I'm just going to put it out there. That's not some I'm going to put it out there. Should I? I'm going to. It's not something to brag about, right? Like if you're bragging about not sleeping and oh, I pulled an all-nighter for that project last night, that's I mean, we probably shouldn't be bragging about those things, right? We should probably be bragging, hey, I met the timeline. I got this project within budget. I didn't work past 5 p.m. And my client is really happy with what we're doing. And we're going to get the next project. And I have a life outside of architecture. That's something to brag about, not I didn't sleep for 3 days. That's a little embarrassing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that powerful session. It's been interesting having you on Architect's Corner. And to wrap up this session, if you had to leave today's architects with a single mantra to repeat every morning to make more money and stay sane, what would it be?
I am in control of my life, and I am in control of my career. I am in control of my life, and I am in control of my career.
Maybe I have to repeat it with you. I am in control of my life and I am in control of my career. Just repeat something and
Yes.
start with me.
Yes, every morning. Repeat it every morning, and it's the truth.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on Architects Corner. We are grateful to have you. It's been an interesting session. Thank you for letting us know how architects can stress less and make more money. And I'm sure any architect watching this right now, you can always sign up for Morgan's classes and coach so that she can teach you how to stress less and make more money. Thank you for being on Architects Corner. We're grateful.
Rose, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me and all you architects on Architects Corner. Nice to meet you. If you ever have any questions about increasing your income or decreasing your stress, please reach out. I am here. I am a resource, and we are changing the industry one architect at a time.
Thank you.
Bye, Rose.
Bye.